For more, we go to Danny Haiphong, author of Fake News of U.S. Empire and reporter for the Black Agenda Report. Danny, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
Trump's speech was as expected, was the spotlight in the mainstream media's attention. But there was a lot of other things going on. What else at the UNGA today do you believe is important that we need to be talking about?
Well, I think what's really important about what happened at the UN General Assembly is the fact that Trump basically communicated a contradiction in U.S. foreign policy that exists today, especially when it comes to his administration, where he verbalizes this notion of being America first, where he verbalizes how he's against globalism, while on the other hand, instigating increasingly hostile rhetoric and policy towards Iran and Yemen and other countries. So I think that's really what we need to take away from today, is the fact that the rhetoric and reality with the Trump administration is very critical, and we need to start looking at what is the point of his divergence from the multilateral framework which the UN, the ICC, as well as many countries that have come to oppose his speech really represent.
But Danny, was anything that President Trump said today, was anything of it new? Is it anything that he hasn't said before?
I think what was new was the comments about Korea. Last year at the UN General Assembly, Donald Trump was very hostile toward the DPRK, calling the leader Kim Jong-un Rocket Man and promising military escalation. And just a year later, we see that Trump has now become closer to the DPRK as well as South Korea. But that isn't really due to anything Donald Trump has done. I think a lot of it has to do with the two Koreas really driving a peace process that is in response to the hostility of the United States towards the DPRK for decades.
But Danny, those that are supportive of President Trump would come on and say, but that's happening now because of President Trump's and his actions that he had with North Korea. We did see it in past administrations, so obviously the one factor that has changed is who's in the Oval Office. Could you give them any sort of credit to that, or do you just think it's just luck and timing?
I think a lot of the Trump administration's policies actually have to do with timing. Trump comes at a moment where the U.S. is in a political crisis, where this framework of exceptionalism, of American exceptionalism, that has dominated U.S. foreign policy, that has driven a lot of endless war around the world, is really becoming a question that many are pondering as to whether it's relevant or whether it's legitimate at all, when so much suffering around the world and in the United States and the Western world too has been the product of it. So I think a lot of what Trump has done, his contradictory policies toward Russia and Syria on the one hand and Iran on the other, really have to do with the fact that the U.S. is declining as a global power. And this is ultimately a good thing, because what the world really needs right now, and I think Trump honestly is accelerating this, is a new direction away from U.S. foreign policy, away from U.S. unilateralism that has been that has been able to take the cover of multilateralism, which I think is a huge contradiction of the UN General Assembly today. I think the world needs to move away from that, and countries like China, Russia, Iran, and Syria are really leading the way forward in that.
Well, Danny, I like the fact that you did say that there is a different change, and maybe this is start of something new on a worldwide foreign policy. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.